So glad to have everybody here in the same space. This is a pod. You guys probably don't know what our pods are like, but we've broken into various different pods at PNB. And that means that we go into a studio every day together and we work on a specific ballet or two. But really, these dancers that you're looking at, I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves. But they've been working with each other over the past 4 weeks. I guess we're a lucky pod because we also had a musician join us, which is Michael Jinsoo Lim come in to play Red Angels for us. But I'm Peter Boal, and I was the rehearsal director for this pod, and it was a total pleasure to work with these guys every day. Let's have them introduce themselves. Cece, why don't you go first and just tell us your name and how you made your way to PNB.
Sure. Hi, everyone. And it's nice to see all my pod mates and Michael today. We're lucky that we were able to film yesterday, so it hasn't been long since we've seen each other. But I will introduce myself and not jab on. My name is Cecilia. Everyone calls me Cece. I was born and raised in New York City, and I started dancing when I was 3 years old. And I was fortunate at the age of 8 to get accepted into the School of American Ballet, where I trained for 10 years. And that's actually where I first met Peter, who was my teacher at 12 years old. So we've had a long history together. And then at age 18, when I graduated from School of American Ballet, I got my first job at Carolina Ballet, where I danced and became a soloist there for 6 seasons, and just needed a new life journey. Ended up at PNB, have not been more fortunate in my life. I feel so grateful to be here. And this is my 5th season, I believe. So time has flown by, and I'm fortunate that we're back at work, and I will pass it along to Lucien.
Thanks, Cece. It's great to be here with you all. So yeah, my name is Lucien Postlewaite, and I joined the company about 17 years ago. So I've been doing this for a while. Peter Boal was my teacher at the School of American Ballet, and it's great to be in this role, dancing actually the role that was created on you, Peter, which we may get to. But yeah, it's a role that I always looked up to you as a dancer, and to get to inhabit that has been really wonderful.
All right, I guess I'll go next. I'm Amanda Morgan. I'm originally from Tacoma, Washington, born and raised. And I guess I joined PNB school when I was 14 years old. And I'd been there ever since, went through the school, went through PD, and then now a company member. And I think it's about to be my 4th year in the company, if I'm correct. Yeah.
That's me, right? Oh, my name is Lin-Yee. I was born in Oakland, California, or I was born in San Francisco, but grew up in Oakland, California. This is my 12th season here, I think, at PNB. And I've known Peter since New York days back at SAB, summer course, and year-round. So I think a lot of us have had just a long relationship with Peter for some time. Here with everyone.
Mike, give us an introduction. I knew you, or at least I heard you in New York a little bit. We were in different levels because of orchestra pit and stage, but tell us about your background.
Yeah, my name is Michael Jinsoo Lim. I'm the Concertmaster for PNB. I've been here for 10 years now, I think. Time really flies. So I'm from West Lafayette, Indiana. I went to Indiana University, and then I went to the Juilliard School for graduate studies. And actually, as a grad student at Juilliard, my wife and I used to enjoy going to NYCB performances where we used to watch Peter Boal dance. I toured the country for quite a few years as a member of a string quartet. And then I started playing violin for American Ballet Theater, which I did for 5 years before joining PNB.
So these are the strangest of times for all of us, aren't they? I mean, it feels almost like it's becoming a new normal just because we've been in this practice. But I will say at PNB, it changes all the time. There's sort of a greater numbers of people that we can allow in the room. I feel like we sort of push the abilities that we have a little bit further with each week or maybe each month. But talk to me about what rehearsals are like from a dancer's perspective. You guys are masked, of course. We observe various protocols and proximities within the room. How restrictive does that feel, or how rewarding does it feel just to get back in the studio? Cece, you want to start?
Sure. I've had the fortunate opportunity to be in touch with a lot of different companies around the country, and I am incredibly proud of PNB for really stepping forward and being the leader in the industry in the country. So that being said, I feel really fortunate that we are able to have the space and we're able to dance as safely as possible with all the knowledge that we have and guidelines that our state has and our country and our union. But it definitely is different. We're not going back to work like we did in March. But it just feels so special that we're able to be in this space together. And for some period of time, we were all dancing individually, and it was one dancer per studio per day. And that was great within itself, but you miss the interaction with other dancers, and we're all friends, we're a family. So it's been really great to, even in pods of 5 dancers or less like we are now, it's nice to be with others and kind of create the space together.
Amanda, you were in a foil pod before this, corresponding to Eva Stone's foil, with Cece, correct?
Yes.
And how does it feel for you guys to, you're with 4 dancers and suddenly you're sort of taken into another group? What's it like to have that switch? And what's it like to have such a tiny community? Because we're used to 40 to 50, and suddenly we're really talking 4 to 5.
Yeah, I think they're like, at times it's like sad because you make a relationship, you form a relationship with your pod, you've done all this work, this rehearsal, and then you film, and then it's all of a sudden you're just like, well, I can't see you anymore. And then you all of a sudden are with a new pod. But I think the great thing about it is that like you can build relationships with people in the company that you don't usually get to, or, like I don't always get like go up and talk to Lucien and Will like 24/7, so like it's been nice to like be with different people as well and like get to know them better than just like, seeing them before class and maybe just like saying hi or like, like making a funny face or something.
So Will, for you, you guys have basically like 45-second solos in Red Angels, but still to do all of your rehearsals in masks, is the breathing an issue? Is just having the mask on your face an issue? Did it bother you?
I think it did at first until I think Cece and Lucien showed us the new way of it's a little bit easier to, as before, like the mask was just hitting my nostrils and I was just having a hard time just trying to catch my breath. But I think if our solos were longer than 45 seconds, it'd probably be a little bit more cumbersome. But I think the solos are a good amount of time to still be able to dance with the mask on.
Yeah, you guys, I tell you, I'm so proud of the work you did on Red Angels. It's pretty rare that we have like a month to coach 45-second solos, but we had that this time, so it was a true luxury. Lucien, I want to acknowledge at the same time you were also working on Dances at a Gathering, a longer solo, maybe more stamina issues. I know we worked on that quite intensively, but how was it to revisit that Jerome Robbins solo during this time?
That was wonderful. I think that solo is so relevant to right now. The character is experiencing all of these ghosts as he passes through the solo and all of these memories. And it just felt very poetic to be re-entering the studio, re-entering this space that I remember looking one way and now looks very different, being haunted in a way by the ghosts of my memories of how the space used to be. So yeah, it was really nice to be able to dance that role and have some really real life experience that I could relate to it.
I found in my time as a dancer, I mean, you had Christina Siemens playing in the studio for Dances at a Gathering. We had the good fortune of having Mike come in to play live for us. I always felt like the ballet could reach one level, but then when you add musicians in the live context, it just elevates it tremendously. Those of you that know our studios, we were in Studio C the day that Mike came in and played for us. And to observe protocols, Mike was up on the balcony, which felt incredible. It felt like he was sort of in the belfry hovering over us with these dramatic sounds coming out. Mike, what's it like for you, first of all, just to play masked and to be so separated from other musicians during all of this time?
Yeah, I think the isolation is the hardest part, to be away from, my orchestra members. You know, we're like the dancers. We're about 50 or so people, and right now we're working in much smaller groups. I think the biggest musical group we've had at PNB so far has been 5 people. So yeah, we miss our entire family. And playing with a mask, it definitely has its challenges. I'm getting used to it. I won't complain about it because I'm so grateful and thrilled to be working, which a lot of my colleagues aren't. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I've been very grateful that PNB is providing a safe and healthy atmosphere for all of us.
Yeah, we should give a shout out to the McCall Hall because they've been incredible with many rent-free days, and they provided sort of a film studio, which is our stage, with incredible camera work. And we've been allowed to bring in, as Mike mentions, 5, 6 musicians in with Emile Decoux leading when needed. And we've been really fortunate. It is a sadness, of course, that we don't have our full orchestra, but we're doing what we can to get there. So we should talk a little bit about Red Angels. It's an interesting ballet because I've had a lot of conversations about it lately, and it seems like it's having sort of a resurgence. We had a conversation with the New York City Ballet where Wendy Whalen and I, who were in the original cast, talked about it. Wendy and I also talked with Indiana University, Mike, because the students there are learning Red Angels this year, and it just seems to be much discussed. You guys have all done the ballet before, including Mike. Having done it, say, 3 or 4 years ago, how does it evolve for you returning to it? Lucien, let's start with you because I think you've done it the most. You were in PNB's original group that did it. And how has the ballet evolved?
Yeah, I was just, excuse me, I was just looking back and I think we did it in 2005, which means it was 15 years ago that I danced it. And I guess there's the obvious evolution as far as castmates. I've been involved with a lot of other pods. And it's been really cool to see people interpret the roles differently because there is an element of risk that I think, never having worked firsthand with Dove, but like what you've communicated to us is that there's a sense of risk and a sense of pushing yourself, and each person does that differently. So to see the places that people do that is really interesting. And for myself, having had those 15 years, I just always trying to push it further and hold a balance longer or do an extra pirouette. But yeah, it's cool to see how other people push themselves. I always, if something goes badly for me in a run, I always apologize to my castmates because I feel like I let them down in a way. We're all such like a team in this ballet, and we just drive each other's energy up higher and higher. And the fifth element is Michael. So when he gets there, he drives all of our energy up even higher. And we all really are accountable to one another, even though they are just solos.
So, Lucien, this doesn't apply to you because, you know, that sort of ghost of Peter Boal is actually in the front of the room looking at you. But I'm wondering for the other ones, because I'll mention the original cast. We had Darcy Kistler, it was me, it was Wendy Whalen, and it was Albert Evans. To what degree do you guys know those careers or have watched that tape, or to what degree do you try to emulate originals, and what degree do you try to just make it your own? Amanda, maybe take that, because we had a tape of Helene Alexopoulos, who was an early cast, not the original, and I don't think you've seen Darcy, but how much do you bring of Helene's performance into yours, and how much is it all your own?
I think that the first time I saw the ballet, I saw Maria Krowski do it on a video. So she was like always one of my favorite dancers growing up. So I was like, I want to do that part one day. And then seeing a lot of the other Pacific Northwest Ballet principals do it. So like Lindsay Deck, Laura Tisserand, like Ariana Lalone, all these tall, like amazing women. I was like, I just want to try to do it like all of them. But I think the first time I did it, I was like 20, 21. I was just coming into my career, like basically just entered the company. So I definitely try to approach it very differently this time, just trying to add more details and thinking about it in a way that's a little bit more adding intention to each part of the movement, which I think felt much better this time. But yeah, I think I like try to emulate like little things from people that have done it before, but I want to make it the most myself that I can. Because I think that's the beautiful thing about seeing so many different people do these solos is like where they add intensity or where they push themselves, like what Lucien was saying.
Well, Amanda, you're in that club of great tall women that have danced that last solo, so glad to have you there. Cece, you must have seen Wendy Whalen in New York at some point growing up.
I did, yeah. I followed basically every single New York City Ballet dancer's career because at SAB we had the good fortune of getting free tickets for almost every evening performance. So I would do my homework in the cafeteria and then go see whatever show was there. So I feel like I know almost every New York City Ballet dancer from the time that I was at SAB. So yes, I loved Wendy so much.
Yeah. Will, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm good.
Will, Albert Evans was such an amazing dancer, and I know you saw him and probably worked with him and probably overlapped with him in your time at New York City Ballet as well. We lost him too early, at too young an age, but I feel his presence so often now because we're also reviving his choreography in one body in this program. But you can't not think of Albert Evans and Red Angels. Tell me what you draw from that or what you remember of Albert.
Well, I mean, Albert was such a great guy. I loved him in New York. He used to always compliment my fashion style for some reason. I don't know. He loved the big coats that I would wear and the big pants that I would wear. But I remember just watching the last movement, the solos, like over and over again. It inspired me for music as well. But one of the most memorable parts that I remember seeing do was toes and drop to his knees, and it would always hit that on the note every time. That was something that I always tried to do every time I do the solo. It's a memory of Albert.
Will, all your podmates are thinking about how well you do that every time. So
yeah,
it's an impressive moment for you as well as for Albert. So well done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the one thing that always goes to my mind every time I think of Albert and the solo.
Mike, the last time we did this, Mary Rowell was here, and she played the first 3 performances, if I remember correctly, and you and she sort of worked side by side. Mary was the original violinist in Red Angels. She still plays it quite often. But what was the sort of mentorship like, or the peer relationship, as she sort of passed that funky-looking electric violin to you?
Well, yeah, I think it was, for me, a kind of ideal way to break in. To get to meet Mary and see and listen to her play the piece and dress rehearsal, and just to get to pick her brain a little bit. And she was, really quite. She was very sharing with tips on the piece in particular, and also with some of the technological and electric kind of things to watch out for. But yeah, she's really a fantastic violinist and a great person. I was very happy to get to meet her and call her a friend now.
Yeah. So, Lucien, you mentioned Ulysses Dove. Obviously, he's the choreographer. He feels so deeply invested in this piece. I feel, to me, because of course I worked in the studio with him, but I feel his presence a lot throughout the work and in the studio. What do you guys know about him or other works, or how do you feel his presence in a way in the work? Kind of a hard question, but Cece, I know you're pretty good in your research and probably know a bit about Ulysses and a bit about his legacy. How do you feel his presence within Red Angels?
Well, I actually needed to find out when it was premiered, and it was in 1994, which is almost my lifetime, which is crazy that it doesn't feel at all. I mean, the costumes are a bit dated, but the dance movement and the way that the approach of the piece has not wavered at all. It's even stronger now, or maybe not even stronger, but it just keeps building as different companies and different dancers find their own voice in it. But I think his voice is incredibly important, especially during this time as we're trying to diversify choreographers of color and different races. And It feels really, really powerful. I'm not sure if I have much else to say because I don't have, I haven't done any of his other pieces. Maybe some other dancers on this call have, but I don't know. It's a very, very powerful piece. I'm sorry that we weren't able to do more of the movements because the last solo movement is just the height of it, but there's a big buildup that all the couples do. And yeah, anyway, it was a really interesting approach to just do the height, just do the solos, and have that approach to the piece.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The fourth movement is the culmination of those other three. And I know you kind of need that pumping up to be ready for the fourth. I would ask Amanda, I know you're choreographing right now on PNB or just getting started. Lucien is also going to choreograph for Next Step this year. And Cece has choreographed as well. Will's a composer, I know. But Amanda, there's an intensity about Dove's work. There's strong themes in that. As you're choreographing, would you draw from a choreographer like Ulysses, or which choreographers for you really speak to the creations that you make as a choreographer?
Well, one thing I really liked about Ulysses' work, and I don't know too much about him, but it seems like it's very reminiscent of the 80s, like this New York City 80s era. And I could feel that, like all the things that were happening, like watching Dancing on the Front Porch of Heaven, it like really gets you in a different way that Red Angels gets you. It has this intensity, but also this very emotional component to it. So I think I personally am just trying to make things based off of the times, trying to be inspired by what I see out in the world around me and what those feelings are and what evokes those feelings for me, and trying to put that in movement and just show that visually. But I definitely, I love Crystal Pite. Like that's always someone that I'm like, she's amazing and great movement wise. When making a narrative, all of it, I love her. But yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do now more so, especially just with given the times that we're in. I think it's important to kind of try to make the most of what we already have, and what is working, and trying to build from that, and rebuild too.
You allude to something too that was really an 80s and 90s phenomenon in New York, which was not limited to New York, but certainly intense in New York, was the AIDS epidemic. And it wiped out so many artists, dancers, all walks of life. But Ulysses was part of that sadness, and something that he suffered from. And we saw his sickness during this process, quite healthy during Red Angels. He came back to do a second piece and not healthy during that process. But there was a live for the moment quality that I think Red Angels encapsulates, and a lot of his choreography just feels so present. It feels like, he wanted us to dance like we might never dance again. And just that lifting up of that intensity carried forward into the ballet, and I think into the music as well. But you guys captured that. I'm not going to ask any more questions, but maybe I'll launch you with the last one, and anything that you want to add, all five of you, please do so. But in this day and age, Amanda sort of answered it. What is Red Angels for you right now, for PNB, for where you are in your lives, for this ability to show art to audiences? What does it represent today to you?
I'll go. For me, it's a sense of vitality. The piece is so spirited and so energetic, and so it's a chance for us to be like, we're still here. The arts have disappeared for a lot of us for a while, but we continue and we carry on. And it took us a little while to reshuffle and refigure out how we were going to continue to exist. But creative thinkers always find a way. And so this is that sense of vitality. And I would just add, I wanted to take a moment to go back to my 15 years ago self, when I looked at the casting and I saw that I was going to get to dance this role that I had watched you, Peter, dance. I could not believe it. And still, to this day, it's like so much fun to dance. And I wonder, like, if you in your career had the chance to reflect, like, the amount of people that you impact when you're in your career, because I think dance is you're so focused on what it is that you're doing that maybe you don't think about those ripples. But you definitely have left like such a huge lasting impact. And that was something that like the young boy in me saw this role, and then getting to dance it is so cool. And maybe it's a chance for me to think about that ripple down effect that I have, and hopefully I'm inspiring other people of a new generation.
Yeah, well said, Lucien. We're all part of this chain, and I don't even know if you realize it until your link is up, you know. But I had this wonderful 22-year period of dancing, and you know, it's nice to now work with people that were just coming into their own as 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, and now all of you are performing not only on a stage but virtually. And there's a whole country of people that are looking and being inspired and seeing role models and wanting to be just like you. So well said. I mean, we are just torch passers, and we get to occupy a beautiful space for a moment, but it's always fleeting.
Yeah, I kind of want to go. I want to go off of Lucien's because I was actually fortunate enough to reconnect with Wendy actually over text message, and I had looked up to her so much in my career, and we're very different dancers. She's extremely angular and has like this incredible body that no one in the entire world has, and she has so many incredible roles that she's portrayed that no one will ever do it like her, and that's okay because that's how Wendy did it, and everyone else can have their own perspective on it, but. For me, it's a way, I think my word would be connection, because I was able to connect with the superstar that I looked up to my entire life and reconnect to how I did the piece 2 years ago, and then connect with myself of what kind of dancer I want to be in this new world, and how to not get disappointed that we're not dancing as much, or I don't know, just reconnecting with who I am and who I want to be as a dancer moving forward, and continually grateful for that opportunity. So I think connection's my word.
And Cece, you raised the issue that we are deprived of so much that it's almost better to focus on those wonderful nuggets that we do have. Even if it's just one movement of Red Angels, it's something to really cherish and celebrate. And I think we keep doing that the more that we discover and find.
Yeah, and what an incredible piece for all of us to work on for a month too. I mean, pretty great. It can't get better.
Will, Amanda, and Mike, anything you want to add?
Well, I would just say, for me, musically, this piece is really about life and living and not being afraid. And when I play this piece, I always feel so happy to be doing exactly what I'm doing in the moment. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing for a piece of art to provide.
Mike, I'm going to quote you because we record the music a day or two before we do the filming. Mike did 2 run-throughs that were both impeccable, but after the second one, he said, "I'm never going to play this piece better than I just did." So we have that best recording ever. You nailed it. And you'll hear us dancing for them too. So. Will, Amanda, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I like to say joy. This piece brought a lot of joy. It was something. Well, I guess Cece mentioned it before that it's very powerful. All the movements are very powerful. Of just his choreography is just powerful. After doing like it's just so powerful, and I think that it's just great that we're able to just let everything out there on the stage, especially given can't take anything for granted. It's just nice to just go out there and perform.
Yeah, I would say for me, it feels like we're all paying homage to the, artists that did this before us and that created it. And also just kind of looking at the past of like what art has been and where it's going. And then also it feels like a celebration, like joy, like, but very much like just celebratory. Like you're just in the moment celebrating, like, I don't know, the present moment. Like you're fully just in that and you can't think about anything else. And I think But I mean, especially in this time, it's good to have that consistently, because we can't think about things in this linear way where we're always thinking of like, oh, what's next? What's next? Because then we never enjoy what's going on, like in the, you know, the moment. So that was a good thing that I really appreciated about working on this for a month and just like getting to it, because you could just see everyone just fully pouring themselves out in whatever run we were doing and just fully being there. It was great to see.
You guys, we used to say after, there's some rehearsals that were better than others, some performances where we just hit things. And when Ulysses was gone, we used to say, yeah, he was in the house tonight. Like he would just hold you on your balance or he'd help you get through that extra pirouette. But there's a lot of times I thought of that. I thought, you know, we're a group right now of 6, but sometimes I thought we were 7 because I really felt his presence and maybe his joy looking down on the fact that this legacy is living on through you guys. So listen, I love this pod. I hope we're not separated for too long. It's been a total pleasure, not only to talk with you right now, but to work with you guys over the last month. You came so far with Red Angels, and I'm so pleased we're able to show it to audiences because you should be super proud of what you did. I know Ulysses would be. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see you. Oh, there you